What's going on, guys? Getting in the green. We've got a 5-game NBA slate for you here tonight. So let's dive into it. Lots of injury news we got to pay attention to tonight, but the good news is we have some of that information already handy. But let's get it kicked off, man. DraftKings, first game, Milwaukee at Detroit. For Milwaukee, we got a bunch of people out tonight, man. We got Middleton out, Holiday, Lopez, DiVincenzo, all are out. Giannis is questionable, but upgraded to probable. So he's going to go tonight, and with all these injuries, he's probably one of the best pay-up options on the entire slate. His usage is going to be through the roof. I really like Giannis here in this spot. Grayson Allen is pretty secure in his minutes, and at 4,800, not a bad spot here at all for him either. You're going to get some value out of the Bucks tonight with all these guys out here up at the top. I wouldn't touch Connaughton, Nwora, Portis, Hood. These guys really split their minutes up. George Hill's an interesting play. He's pretty secure as well with his minutes, all the way down at 3,800. Not a bad spot to go here. Should take on some more of that offensive load with Middleton and these guys out. The other one, would probably be, Donis Antetokounmpo, who had a really good showing last game. Played 32 minutes for the first time, scored 31 fantasy points. It was a good game with Utah, but yeah, I mean, if this guy's going to get upwards of 30 minutes, and I think he is going to be in the starting lineup again here, $3,100, not a bad place to go there. So I'll probably be playing some Giannis Antetokounmpo as well. Now, Detroit is healthy, and very healthy now. Cade Cunningham should be back for this game. He sat out the second half of a back-to-back, but got 19 minutes. Looked pretty good, didn't shoot well, but auxiliaries were in place. So what he's really going to do, though, is split up some of these minutes here. Jerami Grant, never a bad play, but 7,200 is pretty reasonable for that guy. Kelly Olynyk at 5,700 is an interesting spot. He had a really bad showing there against Brooklyn in the blowout, where he only scored 16 points. But before that, we had a 43, a 30, and a 38. Not the worst play, probably not where I'm going with my first look. But 5,700, Kelly Olynyk, in a decent spot here against Milwaukee. Banged up down low especially. That's about it for these Pistons. So let's move on to Miami at Dallas. And we are still waiting for the news on Bam Adebayo, if he's going to play or not. He did practice yesterday. If he plays, there's really not that much I like here on this Miami team. If he sits, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero all get a big boost, and then you're going to have Dwayne Dedmon stepping in again as a fill-in into that starting role, and he's a really good play there at center if Bam Adebayo sits. But I really think Bam's going to play here against Dallas. If that's the case, it's kind of hard to go Butler, Lowry, any of these guys. So if he plays, I'll probably be fading this team altogether. Now, Dallas, on the other hand, we've got Luka at 11,100, which is not a terrible spot for this guy, considering we have Porzingis out and Maxi Kleber out as well. That's really going to open up center minutes for Powell, who could definitely, at $4,000 there. He scored 27 in his last outing. Looked pretty good. I think they're going to need him against Bam if he plays. I can see Powell really crushing his value there at 4,000 if he stays out of foul trouble. Other than that, I'm probably not going Hardaway, Brunson, Finney-Smith. If you want to pay up for Luka, not a bad spot at all. With Porzingis out, his usage is always through the roof. Not necessarily, I think I'd rather go Giannis here tonight, but you're kind of just rolling the dice at that point. And, Powell at 4,000, not a bad spot here for a guy that's going to fill in, start, and probably finish this game. So that's where I'm at on Dallas. Sacramento, Utah. It's going to be the highest scoring game of the night, according to Vegas. The problem is both these teams are very, very balanced. You got Fox, Barnes, Holmes, Talbot, and Buddy Hield here for Sacramento. Bagley's not in the rotation. I don't know, man. I mean, Holmes at 6,300 doesn't seem to be a terrible spot. Harrison Barnes, tough matchup, but I mean, the guy gets it done on a consistent basis, so I really don't mind going there either. But for the most part, there's not much on Sacramento that I'm really looking at. And Utah, on the other hand, Rudy Gay is out. That doesn't really change much here. That Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and these guards really spread the ball around, man. It's one of the deeper teams in the league. And playing at home, they tend to just get everybody involved. They're not overworking any one guy this year. This is a team that's really gearing up for the playoffs, man. So Utah, Sacramento, one of the highest projected totals of the night. I don't have too much I'm going there, though. So, interesting spot to be in. Let's move over to these last two games, and these ones are very, very dependent on injury news. And the first one is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans at the Phoenix Suns. New Orleans already has Zion out. Now, the news that I'm seeing here is Ingram is doubtful, so we're going to assume that he's out here. And Devontae Graham is probable. With Ingram out, man, I think Valanciunas becomes a must-play for me at 8,500, especially against, in a game where he's going to have to probably play against Ayton. I think the guy's in a lot. 8,500, the guy's an absolute beast down low, so I'm rolling out Valanciunas probably on every lineup with Ingram being ruled out. And then you kind of need to decide between Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Devontae Graham where you want to go. One of those guys is definitely going to be viable tonight. I'm leaning Graham here at 6,400. I think he has a little better usage rating. He's just also passed the eye test a little better for me. So Devontae Graham at 6,400 is going to be a good spot here tonight. You're going to get probably Josh Hart in the starting lineup if you want to go there. But for the most part, you want to stick with the starters here. They run a small rotation. So I would be picking Valanciunas is a yes, and then you kind of just got to decide there, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Devontae Graham, where you want to go on that roster. Now, Phoenix, on the other hand, does have DeAndre Ayton as questionable. Really interesting. You really want to know what goes on there. If Ayton doesn't play, JaVale McGee becomes the starting center. At 3,400, it's a pretty good spot for a guy that does have really good per-minute fantasy scoring. He hasn't had the volume yet this year. But if he's going to start, especially going up against Valanciunas, JaVale McGee is going to be a very good spot here at 3,400. It's probably going to be a must-play. Chris Paul, Devontae Booker, I think are priced accordingly. I'd probably lean Paul of the two if you're going to go with one of these guys. But with the Ingram news, I think there has to be some concern of a blowout here in Phoenix. So I would be wary of that paying up for these Phoenix guys. They might not be playing in the fourth quarter. And the same can be said here for this Houston-Laker game to finish out the night. We've got John Wall's out. Jashawn Tate is questionable still. We're probably not going to know about this before lock, so that does get really tough as far as that goes. And we also have Daniel Theis, who's also going to be questionable here. I'd assume one of these guys doesn't play, and that's really going to open up some spots here for us to take advantage of. Now, if Theis is out, which is probably the more likely of the two, Sengun moves into the starting lineup, and at 4,300, I think that guy's in a great spot to really get it done at center here for you. So I do like Alperen Sengun if Theis is out. If Jashawn Tate is out, I don't know if you can trust him, but KJ Martin did look very, very good against the Lakers in that fourth quarter. But, you'd assume he'd play a lot more with Jashawn Tate being out. We'd really have to see, but of all the pivots there, if he's out, that's where I'm probably going is KJ Martin. I think, Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, very inconsistent, but when they pop, they are really pop. Not a bad spot for either one of those guys either. So, again, though, you are worried about a blowout here when we talk about these Laker big guys here. So, LeBron James is questionable as usual. Anthony Davis probable. So, Davis is going to play. We'll find out about LeBron probably last minute, which is going to really change what you do here. Westbrook and Davis get a huge boost if LeBron is out. Carmelo Anthony has looked really good as of late, and he is also finishing these games at 5,300. A guy has scored 41, 33, 22. He's looked really good. He's shooting very well right now. 5 of 8 from 3, 6 of 8 from 3. I don't necessarily know if he keeps up that kind of volume. However, it is something to consider on a 5-game slate. Somebody you might want to pivot to here is Carmelo Anthony. Outside of that, there's not much else that I want on this Laker team. Even if LeBron is ruled out, Westbrook, AD do get a bump. I don't know if they necessarily become must plays because I could still see this being a blowout. So I would probably lean Westbrook of the two. When LeBron's out, that guy has dominated the ball. Had some really good showings. But, LeBron has just fought through these injuries as of late. I could definitely see this guy come into play tonight. So we won't find that out before the start time. Let me just refresh here and see if there is any updated news. We do have Sadiq Bey is playing there for Detroit. I saw that. So that is good, but also just kind of muddies the waters there for them. Bunch of news for Wednesday. Yep, so that's where we're at still. We're still waiting on a bunch of that news, and that will kind of affect where you pivot your lineups. Be smart about who you put in the utility spot and kind of have some of those pivots ready to go in case that news comes out late there. Hopefully, you're not going to get it before the Milwaukee, Detroit, Miami, Dallas games, but if you are waiting on news for you should get it before the New Orleans-Phoenix game tips off, which would be very beneficial to kind of flipping, over to a Chris Paul or somebody like that if LeBron is a go here. So you got to be smart about it. A lot of injury news. But a 5-game slate, you're going to have to take some shots here. Personally, I'm really liking these Bucks players tonight and the New Orleans players. I think you're going to get a lot of chalky plays here in Sacramento, Utah, Miami, Dallas. I might lean away from those games and really just kind of go against the ownership here tonight and load up on Milwaukee, New Orleans, and then probably get in on this Laker-Houston game, depending on those injuries. Over to Superdraft, man, and the first time I looked through this, we definitely had some, very scarce values here. So you've got Luka at 1x. I kind of find that hard to play. The Westbrook at 1.15, really only viable if LeBron is out. Mitchell, I wouldn't touch. Booker and Fox, I'm probably not playing. Kyle Lowry, I'm probably not playing here unless you get Bam out. He might be a play at 1.3. Chris Paul at 1.3 is an interesting spot here. If Ayton is out especially, I think he takes over a little more of that scoring. Conley, Hield, no. Here you got to kind of pick one of these guys, I think, at 1.45. Between Devontae Graham and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think one of them is definitely going to get there for you tonight. Without Brandon Ingram, possibly both of them would be an interesting take on this stack. Tyler Hero at 1.5. If Bam is out, I think that's a smash spot for this guy. If he plays, it's still not the worst. That guy could definitely get you 40, which gets you to 60. Hero's an interesting spot here on a 5-game slate at 1.5x. Outside of that, even Grayson Allen's only at 1.65. I don't think he'd necessarily get you there. George Hill at 2x is an interesting one maybe here at guard. The guy scored 24, 22, 26. He would need a better game than that, but On this slate, that's not a terrible idea there at 2x for George Hill. So what man, you might need to play both the Graham and Alexander here. If you want to throw in a Luka, always not the worst decision, obviously. Yeah, I'm having a hard time here. There's no standout must plays for me, especially with we're still waiting on some of that injury news, but yeah, for the most part, that's where I'm going. I think I'm going to go with those 1.45s, and then I'll maybe take a shot on a George Hill if I don't play one of the top guys here at guard. Forwards, would not play Luka at 1x. Giannis at 1x is definitely viable tonight. Anthony Davis would probably at 1.05 become playable if LeBron is out, but if they both play, I'd probably avoid them. I don't think they necessarily get you there tonight. Jimmy Butler at 1.2x is interesting if Bam is out. If he's not, I think he could still get you there, so I will definitely be taking a look here at Jimmy Butler tonight against Dallas. The news on Bam, still waiting, so he's not very interesting to me. With Ingram out, Middleton out, Harrison Barnes at 1.3x is not a bad spot for this guy. Rashawn Holmes is only 1.35. I'd definitely rather go Barnes there of the two. Jerami Grant, Jashawn Tate, Bay, Porter, Ingles, Crowder, Bridges, Cunningham. Kelly Olynyk was only at 1.55. I don't necessarily love that spot for him. I was expecting a little higher. Powell at 1.75 is okay. Probably wouldn't go there either. Carmelo at 1.75 could definitely get you there if he keeps up this shooting. So Carmelo is live, especially if one of these guys is out. We're waiting on the news on Dwight Howard's also questionable. Yeah, Carmelo at 1.75 is an interesting spot here for a guy that could definitely get there if he keeps up the shooting streak he's on. There's somebody here in the 2Xs that I definitely... Antetokounmpo here at 2X is an interesting spot, man. If he comes out and plays like he did last game in those 32 minutes, he scored 34 fantasy points, 35 almost. That is a smash spot here on this 5-game slate if he gets there for you. So, interesting play. I probably wouldn't put him on every lineup, but Giannis Antetokounmpo, with his brother Giannis might be a good little pivot here. And then you take a shot with a Carmelo Anthony or, Javal, probably not Javal McGee, but yeah, probably a Carmelo Anthony, Jimmy Butler, put, one of those guys there with Giannis and his brother maybe. Pretty interesting place to go there. Then at center, there's a lot of good options out here tonight, man. I think you're going to see some chalk on Powell if, now that we know Porzingis is out, he's 1.75. Javal McGee would probably see some chalk at 1.8 if we have no DeAndre Ayton. Sengun at 1.95 is not a bad spot if we have Dice rolled out tonight. But honestly, my gut is telling me here Valanciunas at 1.25 might be the best play at center tonight. So especially, with Ingram out, I think he's going to be chalk, but I think Valanciunas might be the top center. And look, with the chalk on Superdraft, I mean, man, we were close last night, guys, but, Drummond was the play, and he was the chalk, 90% plus, I believe, ownership. But the guy scored 100 fantasy points. You can't not have him in your lineup just because somebody's chalk, especially at center where you just can't miss. You've got to win the center position. Dwight Howard got us there last night. Look, I think Valanciunas is going to be chalk tonight. Hopefully, some of these other, high multiplier centers that are getting the start take some of it away from him. But I do think Valanciunas gets you there more times than not tonight. So for the most part, that's where I'm going at center. So look, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Monday through Friday, we're going to try and bring you basketball. We got football, we got UFC, big card this weekend, man. So, look, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and get notified when we put up the rest of our videos this week.